So Peter Kefalas here with Queen's Voice. Today we are doing a follow-up piece with Thomas Sullivan, who is running for the 23rd District. And we came back to sit down with him, see what updates he had, how the door knocking, the campaigning, basically, engaging the community has been going. So Thomas, thanks as always for spending some time with us.
Thank you very much.
I know you were just telling me that you were doing some signatures, talking to the community. Tell the folks at Queen's Voice what's been happening with your constituents.
Yeah, sure. So since the last time we spoke, we did exceptionally well with the Republican and conservative signatures, the petitions, to get on the ballot.
Okay.
And part of our strategy, which is very important to our community, is the independent vote. And I was resonating with a lot of independents, so there was some interest in getting behind me to do an independent ballot party called Common Sense.
Okay.
So, turns out you need, for the assembly race, you need 1,500 signatures. And it was hard to get the 1,900 for the Republican conservative line. But we went at it. We had a lot of excitement, a lot of support, and we turned in, close to 2,300 signatures last night. And we got a big event tomorrow with the Rockaway Ferry Landing. We're going to catch the 120, 30 people getting ready to go on the 16th ferry. And we got like 20 volunteers coming because we're only going to have them for a few minutes. So it's going to be critical that we have a lot of people for that short period of time.
Sure. So basically, you've covered your signature dilemma. So you've got all that in.
Just about. It'll be nice. Next Tuesday will be the end.
So that'll be handle your signatures in, get qualified, so to speak, and move on.
I'll tell you though, what it's done though is just gave us another great opportunity to go door to door. We had a community event at a local restaurant at Callie's last Saturday. Got 320 signatures.
Wow.
Curtis Slewa came by and drew some attention. And so it was a great day. And I didn't have to walk 2 miles to get all the signatures. So, whether it's the ferry stop or the door-to-door or the supermarkets or an event at a restaurant, signature drive type event, it was all great engagement and all necessary to get on a third party so that we appeal to true independents who are typically more open-minded to their candidates, right? They do the research, and if they like the Republican, they'll vote for the Republican. If they like the Democrat, they'll vote for the Democrat.
So the independents, we could say, kind of be like a swing
Yeah,
voter?
because you're not right. Absolutely.
And you feel that in your particular district, in your race, they're going to be of some importance to get over the ballot line.
So to somebody who, was up by 286 and lost by 15 votes, everything is critical.
So we spoke about that last, so every vote counts.
We didn't have an independent party line last time. Maybe a rookie mistake. We decided that we needed to make that part of the strategy, right? So we're looking to pull a couple of hundred votes or 1,000 votes on the independent line.
In an election by 15 votes the last time, every vote, like we spoke about, every vote would count, and
So
a couple hundred votes would be helpful.
In our heads, we had this, where can we get 15 votes? Where can we get 15 votes? That's just, to keep us going. The reality is, how do we get another 1,500 votes to secure a strong victory? And that could be 700 votes right there.
Wow.
And, we want to take a share of the independent party line because my opponent had an independent party line last time.
No, the feedback that you're getting from whether it's a business owner or folks in community, the working, retirees, do they seem like there's enthusiasm, they're fired up, ready to get out and vote?
There is enthusiasm. Politics is not a lot of people's, they get more excited about the Yankees, or they get more excited about the Mets,
Or depressed, depending which team.
listen, it's been great. The Knicks, the Rangers, it's getting people out too, right?
Sure.
So it's been a good opportunity to engage with people in good moods. It's unfortunate, though, that they're sick and tired, basically, of what they're seeing and experiencing. So, I don't. That doesn't give me great comfort that I might get a vote because somebody's had it, right? Or these other people talking about moving. So we don't want that to happen. We want to bring some normalcy back, some common sense, affordability, less crime, better schools, more hospitals, like specifically in my district. But I'm a candidate to do that. I have the experience, the knowledge, the education, and that's why I decided to do this.
And if we don't do those things, more people are going to leave. The exodus continues, and so those are all going to be important things: affordability, safety.
Yeah, I mean,
Law and order.
These things, at one time, this was supposed to be what everybody was concerned about. But when you have a threat out there in politics that, are against the law enforcement, against police, they're into, more socialism, and forget it now, it's full-blown communism.
Marxism.
Yeah, Marxism. We have to stop that.
So obviously, not much has probably changed since we sat down the last time. With your constituents, or if you look at the polls anywhere in the city and the state, even the country, most Americans feel the city, the state, or the country is headed in the wrong direction. And obviously, safety, security, dirty streets, dysfunctional government, all has, a lot for that negative outcome, unfortunately.
Correct, but we spoke about this last time a little bit too, and I think it's a great topic for people to understand. There's using the word threat again, they don't care Republican or Democrat. They just want chaos, and they thrive on division. And we use the border as an example. The drug cartel, who not only does drugs or organized crime or international crime organizations, they're not Republican and Democrats, they're opportunists. So they seize on bad policy, or they seize on political infighting. And while we have political parties, going at it, they are thriving. They have taken full advantage of an open border, bad policies.
They're very profitable.
Bad outcomes, extremely profitable.
More than most Wall Street firms.
And what people don't realize, okay, whether it's fentanyl or marijuana, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. And this money buys loyalty. This money buys guns that are now also come across the border and flooded. Illegal guns, right? Legal gun owners are not the ones out there killing people in the streets. It's the ones who obtain them illegally. And that money comes from drugs.
So obviously, even though New York City, New York State's not on the border, at least the southern border, the open border, a lot of fentanyl deaths here, a lot of opioid addiction, that human trafficking right here in Queens, we see it every day, just look at the news. So obviously, a porous border that's open is creating trouble, and now if we watch the news more recently, our northern border, just a couple hours north from here, is wide open also, and they're seeing a lot of bad activity and bad characters, whether they're cartel members or terrorists or whoever they might be.
Look, I talk about this all the time in civic meetings, community council meetings. Fentanyl, right? It's 100% manufactured. 95% comes across the southern border. The other can come in container ships in our ports. Some minimal gets through the air, brought through the airports of embarkation. So we know where it's coming from. We know who's making it, but we're doing very little to stop it. And closing the border, take the human element out of it. Just talk about fentanyl. We could save 100,000 American lives by closing the border. By closing the border, we could save 50,000 American lives by reducing it by half. Why would you not do that?
Yeah, it just seems like a stupid choice to shoot ourselves in the kneecap, so to speak. Everybody knows the border's open, and unfortunately, when we have bad policies, bad leadership, the bad actors are going to take advantage of it, whether they're terrorists or drug dealers or human traffickers or bringing stolen goods across or guns.
And that's why I'm appealing to so many independents, because, like I said, the border is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. It's an American issue, and it's a safety issue to our people. And fentanyl is one of those things that they love it because we don't talk too much about it. We don't talk enough about it because the family is devastated, and they just want to bury their child, bury their father, mother, whatever the case is, in peace. And they're socially embarrassed, maybe. Maybe they're not. It's not a proud moment, right? Maybe there was crime involved in it. So it's nobody's kicking and screaming. I want to be that person. I want to end this fentanyl crisis. If there's one thing I could do in Albany, is go and save American lives, save New Yorkers' lives, right? We had over 2,100 New Yorkers died from the fentanyl crisis last year. So how do we not stop it? We're, just came in through Queens Boulevard, right? When people were getting crushed coming through the intersections, they put more lights up, more stop signs, longer walk sign lights, slower speed signs. We did all these things. We're not doing that with the border. We're doing nothing.
And obviously, for any country, with the influx of people, a lot of them not being stellar citizens, and with the influx of a lot of drugs, it's not something that's sustainable. We can't, take in all this beating, if you will, indefinitely. So something's got to be done. And correct me if I'm wrong, I would have to say, even when we go out and stop people on the street and just talk to people personally, I would say the border has to be a top 1 or 2 on the list of people in the whole country now. It seems like it's a hot point, hot topic, where, maybe the economy and the border probably is 1 and 2.
So the economy is specifically inflation, right? Every part of the economy is not bad, but there are certain parts that are hurting every single American. It doesn't matter what wealth area you're in, right? Category you're in. You're feeling inflation and the cost of goods. And there's some bad economic policies that certainly contribute to that, right? And my 30 years in finance and economics, I just scratch my head at who's making these policies sometimes at the state and federal level. But, we got to take a more common sense approach to this. And if there's an opportunity to save Americans' lives, so the economy will always be the number 1 issue. The border, unfortunately, and I don't want to be one of those persons, right? And I say this openly. Not in my backyard, right? That's not me. I want to be involved before it's in my backyard. So I don't care if I'm in Southern Queens, but if I don't want it in Creedmoor, I don't want it in Brooklyn at Floyd Bennett Field. I don't want it in Des Moines, Iowa, and I don't want it in Texas or Arizona or any of the other border countries, right? Because they may be coming in through Texas or Arizona or New Mexico.
They're not all staying there.
They're coming, the majority come to New York or to the big cities. And there is not a city across this country, Denver, New York City, Philadelphia, Detroit, Maryland, Baltimore, rather. Chicago.
Busting at the seams.
Right. People, they have seen the breaking point. It is no longer invisible problem. It is no longer seamless entry, right? It's having real and significant impact And it is dividing Americans. It is becoming an issue, another issue, dividing America. And that, I hold the President of the United States fully accountable. He's the leader of this country. The border is a federal issue, and he's taken that issue and he's put it into every civic leader, every community board leader, every principal in the school, every assembly, senate, state senate, state assembly, council person. They don't have the authority. They don't have the resources, financial.
They don't have a plan.
Security, no plan to deal with an issue of this magnitude. And New York State has this, sanctuary state policy, which is absurd.
And a lot of people have been speaking about that recently, how obviously the most powerful person in the state is Governor Hochul. Could she not, with a stroke of a pen, eliminate sanctuary cities?
Absolutely. It's an executive order. She extended the order that Governor Cuomo put in place. And, how does one person, that goes against every ideal of a republic, right, a democracy, to have one person write in an executive order that for political benefit, right, or sees it as a political benefit or a long-term strategy, right, because why else are you doing it?
Well, it's obvious, and I speak to people all the time about this. A lot of people tell me the most popular answer I get, they're trying to replace us all, or many of us, which makes sense because they want to fast-track people for citizenship to have votes indefinitely. My personal opinion, but I think it's a big issue regardless. It's affecting everybody throughout Queens. I mean, you can go any neighborhood in Queens, anywhere in New York City and see it. We don't have the resources. Putting illegal aliens in five-star hotels like the Roosevelt, it's obviously stupid, not financially, fiscally intelligent, not sustainable. And then, while many of these folks might come here and just want to be workers, we have a lot of bad apples who've come here. And,
a lot.
Rapists, drug dealers.
A lot more than we would like.
And I saw a report the other day, I don't know how true it was, but they were saying crime in Venezuela is down tremendously because a lot of the bad apples are here.
They emptied their prisons.
Yep.
They're solving their problem by emptying the prisons, and their only option is to get out of Venezuela. And because of our, again, back to our president, his poor leadership has led to a poor relationship with Venezuela, which was once, I wouldn't say great, but at least in a steady state.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on something you were saying. I studied at the United States Army War College, and one of the things that we spent a lot of time on studying and reading and writing papers about and having dialogue is a thing called megacities. And whether it's Malaysia or New York, the idea is get your power base, pile as many people into one small tight area as you can, and those will be your supporters, right? Because you're the one giving them everything. You're the provider, you're the great provider, and the other people are trying to take everything away from you. So people, right, you may come in through Texas, but you're going to New York City. You may come in through Arizona, but you're going to Chicago, right? So, the governor of Texas, in reality, he's a great guy. And he's trying to fight this battle with the government. And the government just keeps suing the state of Texas. If I were that guy, I'm speaking facetiously, build one big highway into New York, and because he knows that a lot of them aren't staying.
Sure.
So, it's a shame, and it has to come to an end.
It's a big problem, and in the future, no one knows what it'll take.
Right, but as a state assembly, state legislator, the way to help the federal government is not declaring yourself a sanctuary state. That policy has to end. You can't just open the doors for this.
And as someone who's been in war and studied at War College as a colonel, would you or some of your colleagues consider this an active war or an invasion? What's happening at the border? Because it's almost like we're not sovereign.
It's not necessarily an act of war, right? It's not necessarily an armed entry, other than the drugs and the illegal firearms that come across and the human trafficking.
Other than that, it's okay. It's peachy.
Nah, but like people, there's always the human element, right? They are just people. They are, majority are looking for a better way of life.
Sure.
But how is that our responsibility? And other countries, and we discussed it, Venezuela, are specifically taking this as an opportunity to get rid of the worst, save money, get rid of the lower crime, get rid of your, tell them, say, look, you got one choice, stay in prison, or
go to the U.S.
Go to the United States, and they go to the United States.
Isn't that similar to what Castro did back in the 80s?
That's correct, absolutely. Yeah. And with the Mariel escape there, they emptied the prisons and provided boats and told them to head that way.
So obviously the border is a big issue with fentanyl, the trafficking of people, gun, etc. Common sense issues.
Huge problem. Contribute to our, and now that people talk, now we're talking about crime, right? So certainly contributes to the crime problem.
Now, let me just ask you a hypothetical question. Let's say there's a colonel, a general, somebody at some point in the future that gets put in charge. Is it something that you feel is feasible? Is it that bad right now that we need active military or National Guard to continue to go there? Or could Border Patrol with the state troopers in these border towns and border cities, can they handle the border? If you were in charge right now, how heavy would you go? Or, how many forces would you think you need to really button the place up?
So people might take this the wrong way, right? But I think we are certainly at a point, and I talked about resources and authority. Who has that authority on the border? The federal government.
President.
Who controls the military? The President of the United States, with exception of the National Guard. But we went under federal orders to Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait, right? I got a federal order that said, I was reserved, so I'm a federal force. But a National Guard can get a federal order too, as long as they pay for it. The governor of that state is typically okay, right? Supporting the defense of America. We are at the point where we need to defend America. So it's not about rolling in tanks, right? It's not about bringing out the machine guns at all. It's about a large amount of people with specific training, with the logistic capabilities, the medical capabilities, the funding to handle something of this magnitude. So I would certainly utilize, we are at the point where we need to move. And here's what I would tell you, right? We're coming into the summer months. And when I wasn't in Iraq or Afghanistan or Kuwait or somewhere else in the Middle East, I spent 3 weeks, this is every single summer. Me, my soldiers, and tens of thousands of other soldiers would go to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, Fort Dix, New Jersey, Fort Lewis, Washington, wherever there was a major, and there's dozens of other locations, and we would go into empty fields in empty areas and have notional exercises, right? You want your medical people being trained? Send them to the border. You want your logistics elements being exercised? Send them to the border. These are real life scenario, real human beings, right? Let's get them the medical that's needed, the testing. Let's do the security checks with our military police officers, setting up areas and zones and segregating the known or suspected people, right? Like terrorists. We didn't even talk about terrorism. Right, we talked about the drug traffickers, the human traffickers. So yes, very appropriate to the use of the military. And I just want to clarify again, this is not about rolling in the tanks and setting up machine guns on the border. Not at all.
It's a different battle.
It's a deterrent.
Deterrent.
Right. So when you put Tom Sullivan out there in a vest that you can't tell if it says Border Control or ATF or whatever, and you're with 4 people, that's not a deterrent. Yeah. Soldiers lined across a border,
a couple hundred Humvees
with obstacles are a deterrent. And it sends a message. It's over.
So you have no doubt that if somebody was to give the order, say the president today, military could go in there relatively quickly, shut that border down, make it safe.
100%.
Because we can do that for other countries.
We did it all over the world.
Yeah, we do it.
I secured a port for a whole year in Kuwait.
No, I know it's silly. The only reason I'm asking is there's been people, pundits and whatnot. Oh, we want to be able to. That's not what they're for. Oh, they wouldn't. Or they want to.
That's exactly what they're
Or it'll be a
for.
bad optic.
That's exactly. Okay, bad optic, but this is a good optic. People living in tents at Floyd Bennett Field, thousands of people living in tents in the winter. The summer's coming out. It's going to be hot. There's no activities. There's no support system there.
No jobs.
There's no jobs. There's nothing. So now they're just walking, roaming the neighborhoods, consuming resources. Yes, it's costing billions of dollars. This is not money just falling. We are going into debt over this. And then, so now we're using resources on that, and that's where I come out as a veteran and say, so let me get this straight. So for the whole year, veterans across the entire New York state get $5 million, but one location, Floyd Bennett Field, 1 year, they get $14 million in one shot.
Disgraceful.
Right? Where are our priorities? Right? That doesn't tell me that we're taking care of veterans. That doesn't tell me that veterans come first. That doesn't tell me that law-abiding, tax-paying citizens come first. It tells me the exact opposite.
Oh, listen, it's an honest statement. I think a lot of people feel like that. What they say, half the homeless population in the United States is just in California, and I don't know how many homeless veterans we have, but every time you watch a news story or read an article, it's more and more.
Yeah, and listen. Again, I live in New York City. We have a bad homeless problem, right? That's not humane. People living on the street is not humane. We have to take care of the mentally ill.
Well, that's a big problem. A lot of them are stabbing people, throwing them in front of subway cars.
Right. It's not humane to just let them do whatever and then
sit in a park or something.
Right. Or, it's just not humane. The elements, the lack of food, the lack of mental health, etc. I mean, the list goes on forever.
So let's change the subject if we may. We did speak a little bit about, obviously, everybody's feeling it, no matter how much money you have or you don't, retirees, working class families, everyone's feeling the pinch of inflation. Seems like $20 is like $1 today. Somebody told me that just yesterday. What do you think would be for New York City and maybe even the greater New York State? What do you think would be something that we could do that would alleviate for working people here, families, retirees in our city and state? And secondly, what are your constituents saying about the unpopular, ever-looming congestion pricing, where that's going to put a tax on a lot of working people? And, people have to go to work, people who may not go to a Broadway play. We spoke about that last time.
Here's what bothers me the most, okay? I walked in my house last night, right? I live on a budget. I've been in finance for 30 years. We do okay. My wife's been working for 28 years. She does very well, right? She does okay, right? We're okay. We're a middle-class family. But I got to come in home and talk to my kids about why are 25 lights on in the house? Why is this food going bad in here? So we bought these groceries that cost a lot of money. So these conversations don't just happen in my house. Everybody is saying, how do we save? How do we reduce waste? How do we become more efficient? Because there's not more money coming. Nobody's giving me more money because of inflation, right? So
I can see that.
You're causing problems in every household across America with this inflation problem. There's not a family not talking about it. So as a person with an economic background, a financial background, and degree in finance and MBA, these bad policies of introducing more free money, which is not free, it's all borrowed money. And I'll tell you, it's the younger generations, right? They think they're benefiting the most, they're going to be paying the most. See how much that free education cost you? Just one example, cost you when you go to buy a home. See how much it costs you when you can't afford a car or a trip or a vacation after working, for many years. It's bad economic policy, and we're not talking about graduate degree work here or doctorate level work. We're talking about economics 101.
Basically, the common sense.
Yeah.
Common sense.
You would think.
You would think. So, no secret, the city and the state are hurting for money. Congestion pricing, just another way you're going to try to grab
Right.
money.
So you brought that up. It's another tax. So now I'm gonna right. I'm gonna take from you, right, and I'm gonna give to somebody else somehow. Whether it's the MTA with the buses and the trains, right, bleeding money, services just keep getting worse. The environment gets unsafe,
dirty,
right?
not safe.
Bus drivers being attacked,
Every
train
day.
conductors being attacked, passengers being attacked. So you want more people riding this, right? But you won't make it safer, cleaner, faster, more efficient. And you just keep thinking money.
Well,
How
remember,
about policy?
the mayor recently said it's just a perception. The city's safe. There's no.
So let me share you my perception. I decided to do less business in New York City. I'm just one person. Maybe it's a small impact, but I don't think I'm the only person. And it's a shame because my first, 15 years was working in Manhattan. I would ask my wife to come and meet me to work, and we would go out with other coworkers and families and have a nice night out. Not doing it anymore. Right? Not doing it. Right?
You're
Is that
definitely
perception?
not the only one.
Is that perception?
No.
Or is that reality?
Reality.
Because I have not spent a dime in New York City, Manhattan, okay, let me clarify, Manhattan, in a couple of years.
Well, listen, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
I personally try not to go there if I don't have to.
1993, 1996, 98, I used to sleep on the train, get
Oh,
a
yeah.
little nap on the ride home.
Now you wake up dead.
Now I don't ride the train. And I'm sure as heck not driving my car. And like I said, I had to make a decision, personal decision, that I would not go into, I would not seek new clients in Manhattan.
Well, you're definitely not the only one. Thomas, as we're coming up towards the end of our interview here, I just wanted to give you an end point here, and just basically, if there's something you want to say to the folks in the 23rd District. Obviously, we know the election is coming up this year. It's an important election for a lot of reasons throughout the city. I don't think just in your district, but I think everybody has a stake. Let the constituents know in the 23rd, why they should come out and support you, and why it matters, and what you're going to do to make their lives better, safer, more prosperous.
So what I would ask of the people is to do a little research on your candidates come this November. Spend a little time, see what their policies are, but possibly more importantly, see what their backgrounds are. I personally have served this country for 30 years. I have a 30-year background in finance. I have multiple degrees. My qualifications are there. I served on my community board. I did all those things so that I could get a better understanding of what's happening in the communities and be able to have a better idea. So when you have a diverse background like that and the knowledge and training, I think you're a better candidate. So compare your candidates' experience, look into their policies, and give a fair judgment come this November.
So, ladies and gentlemen, watching Queen's Voice, folks in particular in the 23rd District, which covers Ozone Park, Hamilton Beach, Howard Beach, the Rockaway Peninsula, Broad Channel, so on. Sorry if I missed any communities there.
No, you just about got them all.
Just about.
Hamilton Beach.
Hamilton Beach. So you heard what the Colonel said. Thomas Sullivan, he's running for the 23rd District. You heard what his issues are, what his constituents are telling him, what the community needs and wants. Like he said, look at the candidates, see what everybody's about, make a good choice that's going to have the best impact on yourself, your family, and your community. Queen's Voice would very much like to thank Thomas Sullivan for spending some time with us again. Very interesting man, a lot of service, lifetime of service. So we appreciate you very much, as always.
Pleasure.
And we wish you nothing but the best in the upcoming election. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon when you have the chair.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote, guys. 23rd District. Man's calling for your help. Peter Kefalas, Queen's Voice, with Thomas Sullivan, a.k.a. The Colonel. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Have a great day.